Alright guys, so this is going to be a mechanical entry triggers video where I do my best to make it as simple, mechanical, and easy to understand as possible, as I see a lot of you guys have problems entering your trades and make too much of it. It's very simple, it's very mechanical, it's just a certain thing you need to see before you press the button. Okay, so the types of entry triggers, I'll be listing them in priority, and starting with rejection blocks, best one, allows you to bottom tick, top tick. Then we have internal CISDs, and then we have internal order blocks, and then we have fair value gaps and inverse fair value gaps. So these are the entry triggers you can take to catch a move. Personally, I only take rejection blocks because I don't like taking CISDs, OBs, or any of these fair values because you would need to adjust your position size as well as your stop range, so you'd have lower RR because you'd have to put stops to protect it low. But yeah, so what is a rejection block? A rejection block is the rejection wick formed by a sweep of liquidity or a rebalance of an imbalance. Now, it's very discretionary, and you guys have to understand this. This is the low, by the way. That rejection blocks are the rejection itself, okay? So when you see the low get swept right here by this wick, you can see that we don't reject that much, around 2-point rejection, and we close below it. This is not the rejection block. You should not be seeing this, right? Because you wouldn't get stopped out with a 10-point stop, but still. This is the rejection block right here, okay? This is the actual rejection wick that it left, right? With around a 10-point wick. So normally you would put your limits at the CE. Now, in some cases, and you'll see it's in this case as well, the rejection is so strong that we won't even get a retrace back to the RB. And that is when you would take these other entry triggers if you wanted to chase the move. Personally, if this ever happened and I didn't market order, then I'm just going to ride the trade out or just like watch it. Another thing with rejection blocks is RBSMT I wanted to go over, and that's normally when I market order rejection blocks. So RBSMT occurs when one asset type respects the rejection block. So let's say we get a candle trade into the CE and then reject out, while we have, let's say, ES trading through the rejection block and sweeping out the rejection block low that was formed on ES. Now that is low time frame SMT and is RBSMT. And seeing RBSMT, you can market order. So as soon as you see that NQ is tapping into the CE or like even the rejection block itself, but then ES has already swept it, I would market order right there. And I would most likely get a lot better of an entry through that market order. Now, again, RBSMT is very discretionary, so it takes a while to get used to. But yeah, here is RBs, and then moving on to CISDs, right? So since internal CISDs, you would just be taking the retest of this. You'd put your limit right there. You put your limit right there, and then you put your stops at this low. You would have a lot lower RR, and let's say you wanted to target this high before daily open, right? Still 5R, quite good, but again, you're trading a lot less lower RR as opposed to taking this almost 20R trade. So as you can see, we would get a retest into level, I think. No, we don't. Okay, so after that, we have order blocks where you would just draw this. Again, internal order blocks. And then again, I'd say, you can either put your limit at the very top of the order block or the CE. It's completely up to you. But again, I don't use them, right? And oh, look at that. Yeah, we get a retest right into the CE of the order block and the CISD right there. So, both of those entry triggers would have worked out for you. You would just have to adjust your stops. And even for fair value gaps, right? After, let's say, right here, okay? We first have an inverse, we have a fair value gap right here. And we also have an inverse right here, okay? Again, you can use whichever one you want. You can put limits on this one. You can put limits at the CE of this one. Or you can take a BPR out of the two of them. Put limits right there. It doesn't matter, okay? Regardless, you will get filled into the position, but then you would have to sacrifice a lot more R. You would have a much higher, stop loss, and it's not very good. So yeah, you see, you get a test, and then we trade up all the way to final TP. And those are the types of entry triggers that you can use.